My name is Eric Calder. I worked homicide for 12 years before I moved to missing persons. I used to think that was a promotion, fewer gunfights, more puzzles. But I was wrong. Some puzzles don't want to be solved. Some stare back at you. It was early November when the call came in. Rain pelted the windshield as I pulled into the cracked driveway of 217 Grayson Hollow Road. The house looked like it had been empty for decades. Roof sagging, porch collapsed, one window covered with rusted tin. But the basement was still accessible. According to the two teenagers who found it on a dare, they said they went looking for urban legend stuff. The butcher's house, they called it. Supposedly, a killer used to live there back in the 90s. They didn't find a ghost, but they found something worse. A locked basement door kicked open, and inside bloodstains on the floor, chains on the wall, and a phone. That's what made them call us. Not the blood, not the chains, but the fact that an old phone, screen still glowing, was just sitting there on a wooden stool in the middle of the basement. I arrived with my partner, Grant. He'd seen worse. We both had. But that basement felt wrong. The air was dense, like a space that hadn't breathed in years. No rats, no bugs, no sound at all. We stepped down into the dim concrete room, flashlights cutting through the musty dark. The floor was damp, scattered with flakes of ceiling mold and old dust. In the center of the room stood the stool, and on it the phone, upright, intact, glowing faint blue. It was a cracked Samsung, maybe 8-10 years old. No charging cable, no sign of any power outlet nearby. I leaned in. The screen showed 33% battery. That made no sense. I picked it up, half expecting it to turn off in my hand, but it didn't. It was still warm, still active. No SIM card, no signal, yet the home screen was active. No lock code, just a swipe away from the main interface. And so I swiped. The phone opened to the call log. The most recent calls were what made my stomach drop. The names, Claire H., Victor Elias, Miles T., I knew them. I remembered their faces. I'd read their files, seen their bodies. They were all victims of Franklin Rowe, a serial killer we'd arrested 5 years ago, after he tried to burn his house down, with 5 bodies buried under the floorboards. But they were dead, all of them. Some of the remains had to be identified through dental records, yet here were their names, listed as incoming calls to this phone. Dated 2 days ago, 3 hours ago, one just 20 minutes before we arrived. I opened the voicemail tab, empty. Grant watched me in silence, his flashlight beam slowly drifting across the wall. I knew he saw it too, the faint red smears. Not fresh, not old either. Tapped on one of the calls. Claire H., 1:43 a.m., 42 seconds. I hit play. There was no voice, just breath. It started slow, wet, like someone breathing through blood. It crackled through the speaker in irregular bursts. Then came a faint sound, like a whisper behind cloth. A word maybe, I couldn't tell. Then silence. I looked at Grant. He didn't say anything, just nodded. He didn't believe in ghosts. Neither did I, but we both agreed this phone wasn't normal. We brought it back to the station and turned it over to tech. They ran diagnostics. Battery checked out. Storage clean. No malware, no apps, no cloud account. But here's the weird part. The phone had no service, but it still received calls. Not real-time calls, but delayed logs. Somehow, even when isolated, it kept a record of who called it, with exact timestamps. And every night at 2:13 a.m., a new name appeared. Always someone who had died under suspicious or unsolved circumstances. Some we knew, others we had to dig for. I started a file, cross-referenced names with missing person databases. Most had never been found, but a few we had buried. It was around the 5th day that I noticed something else. The phone wasn't just receiving calls, it was reacting to them. On the 6th night, it vibrated violently. Not just once, repeatedly for over a minute. The screen glitched. The background shifted colors. A faint outline appeared that looked like a fingerprint smeared from the inside of the screen. Then it faded. Tech tried to factory reset it. Nothing worked. Even when the battery dropped below 5%, the phone refused to power off. It refused to die. I took it home with me. I told Grant I needed to study it more. The truth? I wanted to see what happened at 2:13. So I waited. That night I sat in my dark kitchen, Phone face up on the table, glass of bourbon in my hand. 2:12 a.m. My eyes stayed glued to the screen. It was quiet. Too quiet. Even the refrigerator hum seemed to stop. Then 2:13. Incoming call unknown. I didn't touch it. Just watched. It rang 3 times, then stopped. I opened the log. New name, Angela Morris. Call duration 17 seconds. That name was not familiar. I did a search. Angela Morris had gone missing in 2019. Last seen outside a pharmacy in Baltimore. She was 26. Never found. I looked back at the phone. The log said the call came from her, but that wasn't possible. And then I heard something. From upstairs. A sharp, short sound, like a knock. I turned off the light, held my breath. Nothing. I crept upstairs with my flashlight, cleared each room, every door locked, every window sealed. Back downstairs, the phone buzzed again, but this time no name, just static on the screen, as if the screen itself was trying to load something. And then, as I stared at it, it spoke. Just one word, in a voice like gravel being dragged across metal. Hello! I dropped the phone. The screen cracked, but it didn't break. It just kept glowing. I stared at the phone longer than I should have. That voice, it wasn't just deep or distorted, it was wrong. Like something trying to sound human and failing miserably. It came from inside the cracked device like a whisper, behind a metal door. And even after it ended, I could still feel it in the air. The phone never shut off. Even with a shattered screen and no visible power source, it kept glowing. It never blinked. I took it back to the station the next morning. Grant looked up from his coffee and saw the look on my face. I didn't say much, just put the phone on the desk between us. He leaned over, squinting at the screen. It's still on, I nodded. Hand still getting calls. I showed him the latest entry in the call log, Angela Morris. I pulled up her file. Last seen in 2019, never found. Cold case, just like the others. Grant didn't say anything for a long time. I could see the thoughts behind his eyes shifting, calculating. He was trying to piece it together in a way that made sense, but nothing about this made sense. We're sure this isn't some sick prank? He asked. Some hacker playing with old data? I shook my head. It's not connected to anything. No SIM, no Wi-Fi, no Bluetooth, no cloud. It's just receiving these names. At 2:13 a.m. every night, he rubbed his chin and exhaled through his nose, the way he always did when he was trying not to lose his temper. All right, he said, then let's treat it like evidence. So for the next 2 nights, we set up a watch. We put the phone in the forensics room, sealed it in a clear box under a camera, and waited. Right on schedule, 2:13 a.m., the screen lit up. A new call. New name, Victor Lamont. Duration, 26 seconds. Another missing person. Another unsolved case. No known connection to Franklin Rowe, at least not on paper. But the pattern was getting harder to ignore. And then something changed. On the 4th night, it wasn't just one call. 3 names appeared, one after another, 5 minutes apart. Each one followed by a faint shudder from the phone, like it was trembling. And when I picked it up, because I had to, I didn't just hear the shallow breathing anymore. I heard footsteps, slow, wet, like someone walking barefoot across a damp floor. Then whispers, stacked, layered. Too many voices speaking at once, too fast to understand. And then one sentence on the screen, "You're next." That night I had a dream. I was back in that basement, but it wasn't the one we found. This one was older. The walls weren't concrete. They were stone dripping, moss-covered. And in the center, the same phone sat on a red-stained stool, glowing a sickly red instead of blue. I walked toward it, and every step made the whispering louder. When I reached for the phone, I woke up gasping for air, drenched in sweat. Grant noticed the change in me. He told me to take a few days off. I think he believed I was cracking. Maybe I was, but I couldn't let this go. I couldn't ignore the pattern, and then it got worse. The phone started showing names that were still alive. One night, Samantha Griggs. Age 32, no criminal record. Last known address in Larchfield, 2 towns over. Still active in the system. Paid her a visit the next day. Told her I was from the department, investigating a data leak. She was polite, if confused. When I asked if she'd noticed anything strange lately, her expression changed. My phone's been acting weird, she said. It lights up at night. No caller ID, no number. Just a white screen, then nothing. I asked to see it, and sure enough, there were recent call entries. At 2:13 a.m., all from a blank. Number 0000, 0, no voicemail, no history. I tried to warn her. Told her to leave town, stay with family. She laughed nervously. I didn't blame her, none of this sounded real. But I knew she didn't have much time. That night she vanished. The police found her apartment empty. The front door was locked from the inside. No signs of struggle, no signs of escape. Just one broken window in the bathroom, no blood. Nothing except her phone lying in the bathtub. It was still on. The last call from me, Eric Calder, 1:48 a.m., 19 seconds. But I never called her. I started to spiral after that. I couldn't explain it anymore. Couldn't even pretend to understand what was happening. The department pulled me off everything. Grant stopped returning my messages. I took the phone and went home. Locked the doors. Shut off the lights. Sat in the dark, watching it like it might move on its own. And then it did something new. That night it rang at 2:13 a.m., just like always. But this time the name on the screen was my own. Incoming call, Eric Calder. I didn't answer. But the screen flickered once, twice. Then it went black. And the moment it did, I felt it. This wave of cold, like a window had just opened inside my bones. The entire house went silent. Too silent. I could hear my own pulse in my ears. And then footsteps upstairs. Slow, deliberate, one step at a time. I didn't go up. I just sat there, gripping the arms of the chair like it would save me. The phone lit up again. Not a call this time. A message. Coordinates. Latitude and longitude. I looked it up. It pointed to the house where the first bodies were found. The place where Franklin Rose started it all. I knew what it meant. I knew what I had to do. Tomorrow night I'm going there. If this thing wants to finish what it started, I'll be waiting. Waited until after sunset before I left. I didn't tell anyone where I was going. There was no point. No one believed me anymore, not Grant. Not the department, not even myself some days. But something deep in my gut told me I couldn't run from this. Not anymore. The phone had shown me the coordinates, and like it or not, it wanted me there. The road to the house was half covered in weeds, almost invisible in the dark. I drove slow, windows rolled up tight. Even with the heater off, I was sweating. The trees lining the road leaned in like they were listening, like they were waiting. The last time I saw this house was 5 years ago. During the raid on Rose's old property. We'd never searched the second building, the storage shed near the tree line, because Roe never mentioned it, and we thought we had everything. But the coordinates led me straight to it. I parked the car and stepped out. The night was dead silent. No wind, no insects. Just me in that shed, half buried in the earth like it had been trying to hide itself. My flashlight flickered, of course, like a damn horror movie cliché. But I kept moving. The shed door groaned as I opened it. The air that poured out hit me like a wall, wet, foul, heavy with the stench of rot and mold. I stepped inside and saw it. The room was identical to the one in my dream. Stone walls, damp floors, a rusted stool in the center of the room, and on it, the phone. My phone, or maybe a copy of it. Identical cracks, identical glow. It hummed with a soft vibration, like it was breathing. I took a few cautious steps forward. The walls were covered in something scratched names. Hundreds of them, all carved with shaky hands. I recognized some of them. Angela, Samantha, Claire, all the victims, all the callers. Every one of them marked. And then I saw my name. Near the bottom, etched deeper than the rest. Almost angry. The phone buzzed once. Then again. The screen lit up. Incoming caller unknown. I answered without thinking. There was no sound, just a faint static. Then footsteps. Then a voice I hadn't heard in years. Eric. It was Grant. But Grant was alive. This voice, this version of him, it wasn't right. Too slow, too hollow. Like someone had pulled the memory of him out of my brain and replayed it in a broken machine. Why didn't you stop it? The voice asked. I couldn't speak. You brought it home. Then the static returned. Louder now, violent. It made my teeth hurt. I dropped the phone, but it didn't hit the ground. It just floated. hung in the air, still glowing. Then, from the far end of the room, I heard it. A dragging sound. Something was moving in the dark. I aimed my flashlight, and the beam landed on a figure. Pale skin, head tilted sideways, eyes black and bottomless. No lips, just teeth, rows of them. It didn't walk toward me. It twitched. Each movement snapped its limbs into a new position, like it was glitching. It didn't make a sound, but every step it took felt like a scream in my head. Backed away, but the walls felt closer now. The room was shrinking, or maybe I was losing sense of direction. My name on the wall began to glow faintly, and one by one so did the others. The phone floated higher, then turned, and pointed itself at me. It started playing back all the calls, one by one. Angela's shallow breath, Samantha's whisper, Victor's footsteps, dozens of voices overlapping, crying, begging, choking, and then my own voice. Help! It wasn't recorded. It was live. I was speaking before I even realized it. The figure was right in front of me now, so close I could see its teeth vibrating. It reached out a hand, not to grab me but to point at the phone. The screen changed. A single message appeared. You should have let it die. 10, the phone went dark. So did everything else. I don't know how long I was out. When I woke up, I was lying in my car. The keys were in the ignition. My clothes were soaked, and my shoes were covered in mud and blood, though none of it seemed to be mine. The phone was on the passenger seat, still cracked, still glowing. Back home, I tried to destroy it again. Fire, hammer, acid, even burying it. Nothing worked. It always came back. Now it sits next to me. The battery reads 1%. Every night at 2:13 it rings. New names. And lately I don't recognize them anymore. I think they're from the future. People who haven't died yet. People who don't know what's coming. Maybe you're one of them. If your phone rings at 2:13 a.m. tonight, don't answer.